Hello gents, how are we doing? Gonna do a shave off. Well, actually I'm not gonna do a shave off today, I'm gonna do an edge test, as I call it. Gonna be using the old British leather. It feels quite appropriate to use that today. I'm up for a bit of sort of pampered smell, we could call it that. It's a lovely, well, very British smell I must say, or at least it is to me anyway. I'm gonna be using this little Thumper Best Badger. Lovely little brush. I've been having sort of some shaves with it now. I think I've kind of got to grips with it a little bit more. It's a GT2 Best Badger it's called. Thumper. Lovely little thing. I'm happy with this one. It's my first Badger that I found that I'm kind of happy with basically. So what razor we've got today? I've got something a little bit special for you. But special for me as well. This little beaut of a razor. So it's called a H. Williams stubtail basically. It's London made. It's just got some lovely angles to it. The scales are to die for. They really are just very, very, very pretty. It is, to me, just a very, very pretty razor really. On the back it says London made. See if it'll stay up. I think it just about stays up on this. Don't know if you can see that, but it says London made on it, which is pretty cool just in itself. I like it. So a lot of people don't realise that a lot of razors used to get made in London before Sheffield like really took off, especially sort of what you could call posh razors for the gentlemen of the day that were possibly pretty bloody rich. It's to say this has took me a long time to hone is possibly the understatement of at least a month, because I reckon I've got 10 hours, roughly about 10 hours sunk in that. I've got it all the way to 12,000, and then I started getting this really sort of like bitty breakout edge. I had all of these, I had sort of, well I call them the black dots of razor death, like little sort of black pit holes that really eat into the razor, and when if you actually get them on the stones, it's like honing charcoal. It's the only word to describe it really. And it was really quite bad up here. Overall it was in good condition, but it had these little pits, and there's still the odd pit on that side, but it's not really even remotely in the bevel anymore. So going forward, if you had to re-hone it, you know, obviously if it was a daily driver you would have to re-hone it. It's just a lovely thing, tremendous steel. Yeah, so I got it all the way to 12,000, started getting edge breakout and like on the very, very apex, which was quite disheartening at the time because I'd spent a lot of time on it then. Yeah, so then I took it back and I took it all the way back to 2,000 for a few laps and went back up through the progression. This is sharpened on my new Nagora, the Coma, Japanese Coma stone, like slurry stone, which seems really good. I've got 2 stones have gone through it now. And I've got a sort of like 4 or 5 kind of almost waiting to go on it, so yeah, it bodes well for it. Just happy to have another Nagora to play with. That's at the moment definitely seems 100% kind of razor sort of safe. And razor safe to me for a stone means it's not chipping the edge at all, and the scratch pattern's not too aggressive or anything. But yeah, it's good. First time shaving with a stubby as well. At least I think. Because when I first started shaving with straights, I was probably a little bit naive with some of the older ones, so I might have had a few older ones that I didn't kind of realise, if you know what I mean. And I've not really been somebody that's ever really hunted stubtails. Like, I've seen them come and go loads and stuff, but I don't know, there's just been something about them that I never really kind of fancied, if you know. It's a bit of a weird one because I love razors, but yeah. So that's the first one I've purposely bought as well to keep. So that's my one, I think. Until I get one maybe that's better, because I only plan on keeping one stubby. But to beat that, it'd have to be something quite special, I think. Just putting the old brush in the hot water. I've stropped it multiple times. I've stropped it on the strop there on the left of me. The old sort of quite high drag, genuine horse shell one that I've redid the level, like the ends on it and everything, and re-sewed it. Lovely, lovely, just lovely. Whenever you open it. I've had some quite interesting razors coming this week. I was actually meant to bring one up here to show you, but never mind, I'll do a separate post for it at some point. I've already put it on one of my forums that I'm on. But it's called a tapered razor basically. So it's from the heel to the toe in width, it changes size quite dramatically. But if it's a genuine one, it changes on the spine as well. So that if you look down on the razor from above, down on the spine, towards the heel, towards the shank, it'd be nice and thick like a normal razor, but then it's meant to get thinner towards the toe. I might actually took it out the postage wrapping today. But I'm excited to shave it. I've been after one roughly about 3 years. Sort of 3 years, yeah, I'm sure it is about 3 years. And it's because I've come across those old sort of printed ads, and it had like the taper razor on it. I was a bit like, oh, that's interesting. And anyway, so then I put some study in it. I did find some things online, and Badger and Blade have got a thread kind of dedicated, a 2-page thread about the tapered. What did he have? I think he found a Joseph Elliott's, which I imagine is probably a bit older than the one I've got, but did a nice restoration on it, I must say, whoever the chap was. Really did a nice sort of kind of respectful, put some nice horn scales back on it and that. Yeah, they were a bit of a fad anyway. It's a little bit from memory, but from about 1890 to 1895, maybe 1900. And yeah, they sort of pumped them out a bit for a short period. Whether it's come and gone a little bit over the decades, I'm not 100%, you know, as we can't be really. This one's a John Watts Sheffield maker. I think it was a bit of a Sheffield thing as well. I've never found a German one, and I'm pretty sure. Well, I say I'm not pretty sure, but I've never seen a Swedish one either, or a French one. I've seen probably about 3 or 4 Sheffield ones, but this is the first time I've had any opportunity to buy one. So like I said, I don't know if I'll keep it, but I'm excited to shave with it. I'm excited to get it shaved ready and shave with it. It looks in quite good nick. I'm sort of still learning the brush a little bit. It holds soap quite different from my synthetic, which you kind of expect, don't you? And I do find these Stirling soaps, they're a bit water hungry a little bit. Sometimes they take a little bit more water than others, which is not a bad thing. It's just for whatever particular brush you're using, you have to just learn the nuances of it. It's the same with anything really. It's getting somewhere near low, isn't it now? I ain't really done that much honing this week. I've done a bit of polishing. I descaled loads of razors the other week. Ones that were, like, on the whole, no good whatsoever. Like, they're not even worth saving, sadly. I never like throwing razors away at all. But they really weren't worth saving. Right, so towards here, it's not HHTing. With some stub tails, I've been told, and I've read quite extensively in the past, that you got to sort of allow a little bit of difference kind of testing before you shave them a little bit. Like, some of them just don't pop hairs the way more modern razors, but they're meant to be really smooth. So yeah, from about there to about where my finger's just popping out, it's not really popping, but it's popping well all the way up. My problem child with this razor was towards the toe. I had all sorts of problems, and if I'm frank, I did do some microscope videos with this, and I have done a honing video with this razor as well, so you can go and check them out if you want. But it still looks like it's got a bit to give. Like, you know, if I took it back to 2000 for a few laps, I reckon it could improve more, which I might do. But I just wanted to see, like, it's popping hairs, so does it shave decent enough? Well, we're gonna see, ain't we? You know, as like I always say, the proof is in the pudding. For instance, I sold like a razor to some dude. Well, I won't tell what country it is because it don't really matter, but in Europe, and it was a fine little Swedish blade, and he said it's still shaving well now after many a shave, but it's probably not really popping the HHT test anymore, but it's shaving well, and that's the thing. Do you know what I mean? It's just it's almost like a guide, really. See if we can get any of these old fluffy ear hairs. Yeah, it's got them. You know, I know, really fine fluffy hairs they are. Get my granddad hairs off, that's what I call them. I ain't a granddad yet, but let's hope not for a few years anyway. Cool. My granddad hairs. It's lovely. Start losing hair on your head, grow it in your ears. Right. So instantly, it's not. Actually, let's have a little feel of that. Yeah, so if I'm going to be really picky, towards the heel, that is a little tiny bit tuggy. Like if I was going to say if that was shave ready, that wouldn't pass my shave ready face test, if you know what I mean. But I kind of knew this beforehand, so just use a different part of the razor. You know, so when something's this old, you know, do you really want to be taking metal off the razor? Do you really want to be taking metal off the razor just to improve the heel? Because it's such an old razor, it's got to be, well, it's got to be kind of 200 years old, really. Like the kind of stub tail it is. I might put it back on the stones, but it's still usable. You've still got over 3/4 of the blade. Alright. I probably will take it back to the stones at some point. The rest of the blade's not tugging at all. It's still not as smooth as I expect. Which was a kind of expecting all this anyway, but it's not really leaving any hairs behind. And it's a relatively tight shave. My little problem areas are probably a little bit prickly. But as I've said many a time, I try and preserve the metal as just as much as I possibly can, really. It's one of my real sort of things. Jab myself then. It's the first cut I've had for a long time. Bit of blood, boys. Yes, so if this was a razor I was going to move on, I'd say 100% it's not quite shave ready. 3/4 of the blade. Little been striped. 3/4 of the blade I'd say is bob on, but a little bit towards the heel, it's just not hitting it right. So I probably will take that back to the stones. All good. I'm happy to get it somewhere near shave ready at the very least. You know, it's not a razor I'm going to shave with too much, to be frank. You know, the shank's a little bit, the shank's very, very fine for my liking. You know, I'm a builder, and you know, being a builder for so many years, you end up, well, I call it builder's hands. And what that is we treat everything a little bit kind of rough. And it's very, very fine. I don't know whether you kind of, like, to me, this is even finer than some of the Swedish, sort of like Swedish frame backs, and some of them are really fine. But this part here, just here, it's actually not particularly easy for me to kind of hold, if you know what I mean. But anyway, it's a lovely razor. I'm really glad I've got it. It's something that every time I get out and at the very least like look at, I'm excited too. It's just a lovely razor. Right, I'm just going to do the one pass with it. Got stuff to do today. It's a H. Williams London made stub tail. I did polish it up a little bit, but I've really tried to not sort of interfere with any of its kind of original sort of details. There's a bit of pitting here and there. You know, you'd have to sand it, I think, to get them out, so it's not for me. Just use it, enjoy it, look at it. Lovely. Right, I'll see you later, lads. Have a good one. Toodaloo.